Listen up, because in 1983, Inspector Gadget wasn't just another cartoon. This show was airing in 65 countries simultaneously, cost approximately $300,000 per episode, making it one of the most expensive animated series ever produced at that time, and introduced millions of kids to a bumbling cyborg detective who somehow saved the day despite being completely incompetent. The show ran for 86 episodes across 2 seasons, generated hundreds of millions in merchandise sales worldwide, and created a formula for comic detective cartoons that would be copied for decades. That catchphrase, "Go, go, Gadget," became part of the cultural vocabulary. But what you probably don't know is the insane international co-production deal that made Inspector Gadget possible, the animation quality compromises that kept it affordable, and the 3 catastrophic decisions that prevented this global phenomenon from lasting the way it should have. And I've got to warn you, when you see what happened behind the scenes, you're going to realize that Inspector Gadget was a miracle of international deal-making that succeeded despite being a logistical nightmare nobody could sustain. So buckle up, because this is about how you create a global hit through international cooperation and then watch it collapse under the weight of its own complexity. How Inspector Gadget became a multinational production. All right, so here's something most people don't realize. Inspector Gadget wasn't an American show. It wasn't a French show. It wasn't a Canadian or Japanese show. It was all of them simultaneously. And that's both why it succeeded and why it failed. In the early 1980s, a French animator named Jean Chalopin had an idea. He'd founded a company called DIC Entertainment, Diffusion, Information, and Communication, and he wanted to create animated content that could sell internationally, not just in one country, but everywhere. The problem with most cartoons was they were too culturally specific. American shows referenced American culture. Japanese anime had Japanese sensibilities. French cartoons felt French. To sell globally, you needed something universal. Chalopin's solution was brilliant. Create a show based on universal archetypes with minimal cultural specificity. A bumbling detective that works everywhere. Comedy based on physical humor and slapstick translates across languages. A mysterious villain who never shows his face. No cultural barriers there.
The sooner I destroy Metro City, the sooner the world.
The concept for Inspector Gadget was influenced by multiple sources. The bumbling detective came from the Pink Panther films, and Inspector Clouseau, the cyborg with gadgets, came from $6 Million Man and James Bond spy tech. The kid and dog actually solving the mystery borrowed from kids' mystery shows.
Brain, are you there? Bow wow. Follow them, Brain. We've got to help Uncle Gadget.
It was designed as a greatest hits compilation of familiar tropes. But here's where it gets complicated. To produce the show affordably and distribute it globally, Chalopin needed international partnerships. DIC Entertainment, France, would handle creative development and European distribution. Nelvana, Canada, would co-produce and handle North American distribution. They partnered with Tokyo Movie Shinsha, Japan, and Cuckoo's Nest Studio, Taiwan, for actual animation production. Lexington Broadcast Services would handle US syndication. This was a multinational co-production on a scale television animation had rarely attempted. Different companies in different countries, all sharing costs, sharing profits, and sharing creative control. The budget was approximately $300,000 per episode. Expensive for 1983, but split among multiple international partners, it became viable. Each partner could then sell the show in their territories and recoup their investment. Inspector Gadget premiered in September 1983 in syndication in the United States and simultaneously launched in France, Canada, and other international markets. And the response was immediate and massive. Kids everywhere loved it. The comedy was broad enough to work across cultures. The go-go Gadget catchphrase translated easily into multiple languages. The formula, Gadget gets assignment, Penny and Brain actually investigate, Gadget accidentally saves the day, was simple enough that language barriers didn't matter. By early 1984, Inspector Gadget was airing in 65 countries worldwide. That's unprecedented for a new animated series. Shows like He-Man and G.I. Joe were successful in America, but took years to spread internationally. Inspector Gadget was global from day one. Merchandise followed quickly. Tiger Electronics had the American toy license. Galoob produced action figures. Bandai handled Japanese markets. The licensing was fractured across territories, but the global reach meant total merchandise sales were enormous. Estimates put worldwide revenue at over $500 million across the show's first few years. Everything looked perfect, a global hit show with multiple revenue streams across dozens of countries. But the complex international production structure that made it possible also made it unsustainable. Mistake number 1. The multinational production was a logistical nightmare. Here's the fatal flaw that killed Inspector Gadget's longevity. Too many partners with competing interests. DIC Entertainment in France was the creative lead, but they had to coordinate with Nelvana in Canada, Tokyo Movie Shinsha in Japan, and Cuckoo's Nest in Taiwan. Scripts were written in France, translated and adapted for different markets, sent to Asia for animation, sent back to North America for voice recording, then distributed to 65 different countries with different broadcast standards. The production pipeline was insane. A single episode could take 12 to 14 months from concept to final delivery because it had to pass through so many different companies and countries. Compare that to a show like G.I. Joe, which was produced by a single American company working with one Japanese animation studio. Their pipeline was 6 to 8 months per episode, half the time. And every partner in the Inspector Gadget production had veto power over content because they'd all invested money. DIC couldn't just decide to take the show in a new direction. They had to get Nelvana to agree, Tokyo Movie Shinsha to agree, and all the international distributors to agree. This meant creative decisions moved at a glacial pace. When they wanted to introduce new characters or change the formula, it required international committee approval. When they needed to adjust budgets or timelines, it required multi-party negotiation. By season 2, the cracks were showing. Episode delivery was constantly delayed. Some territories were getting episodes months after others because of production bottlenecks. The animation quality was noticeably declining because the studios were stretched thin across too many markets with too many conflicting demands. And the financial structure was getting complicated. With profits split among multiple international partners, nobody was making quite as much as they'd hoped. The show was successful, but the complexity of the partnerships meant overhead costs were eating into margins. By late 1985, the international partners were having serious discussions about whether to continue production. The show was still popular, still selling merchandise, still airing successfully worldwide, but the production process had become so unwieldy that nobody wanted to keep managing it. Mistake number 2. The animation quality was inconsistent and declining. Here's the problem with outsourcing animation to multiple studios across multiple countries. You get wildly inconsistent quality. Inspector Gadget episodes were animated by Tokyo Movie Shinsha in Japan and Cuckoo's Nest Studio in Taiwan, with different episodes going to different studios depending on scheduling and capacity. And the quality varied dramatically. Tokyo Movie Shinsha episodes looked good. Smooth animation, detailed backgrounds, consistent character models. These were the episodes that looked professional and polished. Cuckoo's Nest episodes were rougher, more limited animation, simpler backgrounds, occasional off-model characters. Not terrible, but noticeably cheaper looking. And because episodes were being produced simultaneously by different studios to meet delivery quotas, there was no consistency. One week, kids would watch a beautifully animated episode. The next week, a much cheaper looking one. The quality whiplash was jarring. By season 2, cost cutting was obvious. More stock footage of Gadget's transformations and gadget deployments. More static shots with limited movement. More repeated background art. The budget pressure was forcing compromises that made the show look cheaper. And here's the thing. Kids noticed. Maybe not consciously, but Inspector Gadget started feeling less special. It started looking more like typical limited animation afternoon cartoons instead of the premium product it had been in season 1. The international distribution model required producing episodes quickly and cheaply to satisfy 65 different markets. Quality control suffered Because there wasn't a single studio maintaining standards. It was fragmented across continents. Compare that again to shows produced by single studios with direct oversight. Rankin's Bass with Thundercats had consistent quality because they maintained direct relationships with their animation partners. Inspector Gadget's multinational production diffused responsibility until nobody was really in charge of quality. By 1986, the show that had started as one of the most expensive and ambitious animated productions was looking cheap and rushed. The decline was undeniable. Mistake number 3, they couldn't agree on how to continue. This is where the international partnership completely fell apart. In 1985 to 86, DIC Nelvana and the international distribution partners were negotiating about future seasons, and they couldn't agree on anything. DIC wanted to continue production but reduce per-episode costs to improve margins. Nelvana wanted to maintain quality levels even if it meant producing fewer episodes. The Asian animation studios wanted guaranteed minimum episode orders to justify keeping staff dedicated to the project. The international distributors wanted more episodes immediately to keep the show fresh in their markets. Every partner had different priorities, different financial pressures, and different ideas about the show's future. And because they were equal partners in the co-production, nobody could make unilateral decisions. The negotiations dragged on for months. Meanwhile, production had essentially stopped after 86 episodes because nobody could agree on terms for continuing. Some partners wanted to pivot to a cheaper direct-to-video strategy. Others wanted to increase the budget and go for premium Saturday morning network placement. Some wanted to age up the characters and change the formula. Others wanted to keep everything exactly the same. It was committee deadlock on an international scale. And while they argued, the show just stopped. No official cancellation was announced. No final episode marketed as a series finale. Production just ceased because the partners couldn't agree on how to continue. By late 1986, it was clear new episodes weren't coming. The 86 existing episodes went into perpetual syndication rotation. Kids kept watching reruns. Merchandise kept selling based on existing content. But no new Inspector Gadget was being produced. The irony is brutal. The international co-production model that made Inspector Gadget possible, that allowed it to launch globally and become a massive hit, also made it impossible to sustain. Too many partners, too many competing interests, too much complexity. A simpler production structure owned by one or two companies could have continued indefinitely, but the multinational partnership that was Inspector Gadget's strength became its fatal weakness. Failed revivals and syndication success. Here's what's fascinating about Inspector Gadget. Even though production stopped in 1986, the show never really went away. Those 86 episodes stayed in syndication for decades. Throughout the late 80s, the entire 90s, and into the 2000s, Inspector Gadget was constantly on television somewhere. New generations of kids discovered it in reruns. The merchandise kept selling based on 15-year-old content. In 1992, DIC finally produced new episodes. Inspector Gadget's Field Trip, an educational spin-off. It was fine, but not the same. In 1996, they tried again with direct-to-video movies. Still not the same. In 1999, Disney released a live-action film starring Matthew Broderick. It made money, but was critically panned and didn't revive the franchise. In 2015, a CGI reboot premiered. It ran for 4 seasons, but never captured the original's magic. Every revival attempt faced the same problem. They were trying to recapture something that only worked because of very specific circumstances in 1983. The international co-production model, the multinational creative input, the 80s animation aesthetic, those elements created something unique that couldn't be replicated by a standard modern production. The original Inspector Gadget was lightning in a bottle, and the bottle was constructed from pieces made in 5 different countries that could never quite fit together again. When international cooperation enables and destroys. So here's the thing about Inspector Gadget. It proved that international co-production could create global hits. It showed that cartoons could be designed from day one for worldwide distribution. It demonstrated that multinational partnerships could pool resources to create something more ambitious than any single company could afford. And then it proved that all those benefits come with crippling drawbacks. The international partnership that made Inspector Gadget possible also made it too complex to sustain. Too many decision makers, too many competing interests, too many logistical bottlenecks. Inspector Gadget succeeded despite its production structure, not because of it. And when the initial momentum faded, when the novelty wore off, when the partners started having different visions for the future, the whole thing collapsed. It's a lesson about how sometimes the thing that makes you special is also what prevents you from lasting. The ambitious international scope that launched Inspector Gadget globally also prevented it from producing more than 86 episodes. Simpler shows with simpler production models lasted longer. G.I. Joe, 150-plus episodes. Transformers, 98 episodes across 4 seasons. He-Man, 130 episodes. All of them had clearer ownership structures and simpler production pipelines. Inspector Gadget was too complex for its own good. So that's the rise and fall of Inspector Gadget, a show that conquered the world through unprecedented international cooperation, then stopped producing new content because that same cooperation became impossible to maintain. The 86 episodes will live forever in syndication. The catchphrase will never die. And every international animated co-production since has learned from both its successes and its failures. If you can still hear Dr. Claw saying, "I'll get you next time, Gadget, next time," in your head right now, you're my people. Drop a comment and tell me your favorite gadget Inspector Gadget ever pulled out. Mine was the helicopter hat, obviously. And if you're not subscribed yet, there's a lot more animation history where this came from.